back for another episode of the Daily Wick. Hope you guys had an amazing weekend. You got your energy back to get back into the stock market and trade like a champ. In order to trade like a champ, you really have to just focus on the fundamentals. Don't on the basics. Don't overthink it. It's not rocket science, and it's not hard to plot out support resistance areas, as I've shown and will continue to show, and then we're going to focus on patterns. Let's just take a look quickly at the S&P futures, the SPY, and let's just draw out some support resistance areas that we can identify. So we're looking for areas of support and resistance. Hold on just one second. I got this up there, right there. Let's put another one around here. And let's put another one around here. And one more on the top over here. I'm going to take it from the body of the candles because that's important, although you should always look at the wicks to see what the high was. And then obviously that's where we are right now. We also have a trend line, as you can see. We actually have multiple trend lines here. We're going to take this from a monthly. We're going to go to a weekly. We have another trend line here. And let's just plot that out. Oh, why didn't it stick? Hold on a second. There you go. Yeah, we had, you can see you had multiple time frames, this is on a monthly. You can see more clearly with the trend, and you have the shorter term trend. This little hiccup we had here, I think that was when China came out with their AI, and the market thought that we missed the boat, and it created a great buying opportunity. I did get involved over here. The market looking very strong, clearly trading within its support resistance levels. The next area of support that I would look over here, I just want to plot this out so that I keep it on my radar, which is around 630-ish. And then we have a short-term one over here that we want to take a look at also. Just keep it on the radar. Let's just try to straighten these out. What's the relevance of the support resistance lines? Again, the longer the time frame, if we get a break in trend or a break in our trend line or support resistance, usually you'll get a significant value, follow through. How would you compare? The longer the time frame, that means it's respected certain areas, meaning on the trend, you can see clearly it's respected here at once, twice, 3 times, broke through, held after. This was after we had that little crash there, and broke right above support, then tested resistance that we mapped out over here on the top at 597, broke through it, and has continued. So the trend lines and support resistance are very important. Let's take a look at how it looks like in a daily. We're trading above or near all-time highs. Let's take a look at a 4-hour. Sometimes I like to see if there are any patterns that particularly stand out. Nothing that is calling to home at this point. So let's just take a look at today's trading. We're in a range, right? You can see a small range here. Nothing to write home about, in my opinion, but it's good to keep an eye on you want to keep an eye on the exchanges. When you're trading, depending on what you're trading, let's say Palantir or any other company, tech company that you're in, and let's say you're seeing a downturn for some reason on the daily, or your intraday, you're seeing, let's say, it move down. um, Knowing the support resistance lines, obviously. Hold on a second. Knowing the support resistance lines, I'm sorry, not knowing, being aware of how the S&P is trading and the Qs are trading and the VIX is trading. It's important to keep an eye on your stock, because sometimes, let's say, your underlying that you're trading is down for some reason. You want to take a look at this S&P is, or the Qs, or whatever it is, and get an idea of what the index is trading higher or lower. If it's coming in itself, well, then, pretty much most things are moving along with it. But if you get a significant downturn and the markets are trading higher, well, that may warrant a look into the news, see if there's something that had come out and that's causing it to move to the downside. Friday, talking about the downside, we were talking about Palantir, right? So Friday, we can take a look at the SPY. We see the SPY actually sold off also. It sold off significantly in the morning. Very similar chart to Palantir. We had that sell off in the morning. Although Palantir, and I put this in one of my videos, excuse me, Palantir actually formed a little bit of a wonky double bottom over here, but you'll see it, right? So you have it came off, sold at 158.16 all the way down to about 148 and change. Came up, tested that 150, came back right to the same area, about 148 and change. And now we have the double bottom formed, where the neckline is about 150 and change. And we traded as high as 154 at one point. The volume was there. It wasn't, in fact, you saw some, you had the opening trade. You came in, wrong thing. So you have the volume kind of moving out, but then we got some volume right here, and you could see it, right? You could see over here how that volume affected the trade at the break of that neckline, which is about 150 and change, and then rallied to about 154. That turned out to be a good trade, but it turned out to be a more impressive trade, because if you take a look at the monthlies, what happened here? Hold on a second. Let's reset chart view. I don't know what happened to all my support resistance lines. Okay, let's just quickly do this. We have this. You have this area here, and then you have a short-term area over here that we're getting. Let's just move this properly. Okay, let's just move this down. And let's move this down also. Okay, let's take a look at a weekly. Oh, actually, I don't know what happened to our trend lines here, but we had some trend lines. So I'm just drawing it out again. If you're new here, this is the daily wick. We're talking about strictly fundamental technical analysis basics. Right now, we're learning to plot out our support resistance levels, and identifying areas of support and resistance, whether it be on a trend line or not. And let's just plot this out as well. Okay, now we can go into a daily and just take a look. As you can see, right? You have on a daily, you had this gap that I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, which I tend to believe all gaps do fill, and that's exactly what we had. We had the gap fill. We have a clear channel here of where the stock is trading, meaning where it's ranging at. Let's just put this over here, right? So you have that channel from about 160, 150 to about 150.40. And now the relevance of that is if you go into a 5 minute, huh? Let's go back daily, right? 5 minute should be right there. Probably saw, yeah, we saw it on Friday. I think this is a little lower if I remember correctly, but not sure. So let's just take a look. So now how is that relevant to the 5 minute? Because we drew this, as you can see, this angle line is a trend line. And this line over here that we see is just a channel that we're trading in between 150 and change and 162 and change. And what we had over here is we had the stock test these levels, and because they're on a monthly and a weekly levels, so these are very key support resistance levels, and we did break out of them. And in the morning I noticed this sell-off. I quickly looked. The only thing was maybe there was a report of some insider selling, but nothing significant that would suggest that this stock should continue to go down. So, you know, I would take a look at this as an area to buy off of, because if you take a look, let's say just at the daily, you'll notice like it's trading in that range between 150 and 163, and came back to 150, then traded back up to 162, came back to 150, then traded up to 161. Again, we're back at that low side. And this is Friday. This red bar here is Friday. So if I go back into that 5 minute, we'll go to oops. We go to Friday. Let's just remove this. Let's try to move this without. So when we got this test of the support resistance, what like I mapped out, you had a double bottom. You had your first bottom, your second bottom. You had your neckline drawn at 150, and the entry would have been about 150 and a half, and then it traded right back to about 154. It's interesting though today, since we're already here, I noticed a bull pennant setup. So this was the opening bar. I may have just broken out of this bull pennant, so it may not be valid anymore. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's breaking down and out of the bull pennant. I would just watch it. You could probably move this over a little bit and get a. Let's do this. Let's see what happens if we trade off of here. But you have some sort of a bull pennant. If you want to take this to the bottom of this, you could do that as well. We say you're trading up, coming in, trading up, coming in, trading up, coming in, higher highs, higher lows, and even higher highs. We had a little bit of a pullback over here, but it made since new higher highs. Here's a higher low if we can stay above it. As long as we don't break, well, the truth is that that may not be valid because you had a low here, create a higher high. We making a lower low than here. Something to keep an eye on, I guess. But a bull pennant is what seems to be forming. The only thing that I dislike about that, this is very important to anybody that trades, is when you see a pattern, it's important to take a look at the volume. And we can see that we had some very heavy volume in the morning, pushed it up, right? And you could almost identify. We had a little bit of a push over here where I thought it may break out. Like you see over here, let me just show you. It's really important to see we started going, but then again, we just came, the volume died out. And again, if you take a look right now, it's about 12:24. I don't think you're going to see anything over the next hour. I think be nice to see it consolidate and spring a little bit and tighten up. in this area. If we do, it's possible that we can get an afternoon breakout. But it's good to identify patterns because patterns, you know, are really something that's repetitive, and the more you get accustomed to it and you fine tune your strategy and understanding the pattern, right? So like this, you wouldn't enter in because there was real no volume follow through, and it never actually traded out of that range of 158.27. It attempted, but it was kind of a fail. And as you can see, the volume dropped off. So it's something to look at for today. Oops, I keep on doing this. But when you are looking at patterns, you do want to see follow through with the volume because that will give you an indication that you have that support to get it through the next level. If you're trading higher and the volume is climbing or the volume is declining, even if you get follow through on this pattern, let's say it were to break out of the high, I wouldn't expect it to last very long. As a matter of fact, I would think it was a bear trap, meaning a bull trap, and they're trying to get us to this high, and then they take out our options, and then we see somehow later on some follow through with the volume. But volume is key, and it's important to pay attention to that as you trade because you want to know that you're going to get the follow through you need for this trade to work out. And I don't think anybody will tell you anywhere that don't focus on volume. No, I think that should be a very key point on focus. And it makes sense now. The volume is light because we are midday. It's lunchtime. People taking a break, eating their lunch. But I did want to point out the. I wanted to point out the pattern as something. So you have over here bull pennant, and you have over here a double bottom that you had, and all these patterns you're going to notice not just on this particular stock, but you'll notice on other stocks as well. And if you apply them with the correct indicators, such as volume, or if you're using RSI, or if you're using MACD, or these other indicators to give you an idea of how it's trading, applying them to your trading technique could be very useful on entering a trade too early. And that's really, if you even take away any of these indicators that you have, and you just strictly focused on volume and price, well, if you don't see any follow through, then there's no reason to enter, and that should be a reason. I mean, that should be part of your strategy. So now that we've discussed the S&P, Palantir, let's take a look at Apple. If we had any follow through from our previously charted out areas, I think I did say that there's a possibility we could test this area and maybe even test the new high of 260. We did. Let's see if we got any follow through today. As you can see, you broke up above that 237. Today looks like the market on Apple is not. It just, yeah, over here. Here's a perfect example of another. Hold on, let's take a look. We'll put this over here. This is just a flag. I wouldn't call it bull or bear. But once you had that break of that trend, right? Look at it. It just, it traded to two. It's not a massive move. It's about a point move, but it shows you that patterns, and these patterns consistently happen. It's not, the more you get accustomed to looking at charts, the more you identify these patterns, the more you identify what makes these patterns work and what doesn't. Volume being an indicator. Obviously, you're going to have more volume. Like if you had this sell off, you had that morning open, and then you had some volume, and then you have this drop off. And that's probably why it's basing out over here. So you had some volume that helped us take it down, but not significantly. But again, volume patterns, these are very important uh, to get used to and comfortable with, and to be able to identify. So we have on the monthly, we have just going back to, hold on, just remove this because I keep on remove. Where are you? Remove. Okay, let's just take a look. If we could close above this level, which is approximately 237.10, if we could stay above this channel that we have right over here, then it's very likely that we will test that 259. So I want to see it closer to the close, see if there's a reason to hold, and we're right there. You can see it on a weekly, right? We're above it. You can see it in a daily, even clearer. We're above it. If we can just hold above and not close below it, I would consider taking a position in Apple overnight if that's the way it closed out. Let's take a look at another stock that we never touched. We could do Tesla. Let's go. Well, I touched it, obviously. But let's take a look. What's going on over here? Remove. Okay, so we want to go to the monthly of Tesla. And it is an interesting chart here. Let's see. Okay. Let's talk levels here. Let's talk support resistance. Is this level something? Yes, it is. Right? You can see how many times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that area, 7, 8, 9. So that's an area. Let's go to the next support resistance level. And that would be around here, 273. And then obviously the next support resistance zone would be around here. And that's around 364. And now we can draw a shorter term trend. When I say shorter term, I mean just something closer to the end, not from that far back as the previous one. Okay. And you even have, if we go into weekly, let's see, what does that show me? You have some sort of a shorter term trend right over here, which I would keep an eye on. Tesla's had a very rocky year. I mean, with all the election stuff, it's been a little tough for Tesla, but it just seems like it just comes back every single time. I mean, I totally missed this one where it traded from 220 up to 340. That was a trade waiting to be taken. Okay, so let's take a look at the daily. What do we see? Well, we are in this period of consolidation here, trading between, I would say, 360 and 290. And we have made higher highs, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and higher lows, 1, 2, 3. So I'd be keeping an eye on it. There is a gap here on the daily. This gap is about 338 to 344.49. You see that gap? Traded to 358. If we get below that 345, let's just put an alert. So let's make it. Let's do 345.25. 345.25. Let's see, crossing down. If we get it crossed down 345.25, I wanted to create an alert so it lets me know. So that this, I can probably catch that trade from 345 to 340 about. Okay, that's looking nice. It's something to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at the 5-minute. How's it trading today? Okay, let's see. Nothing crazy, just one of those down days. Let's keep it right here. See how she trades. But there's nothing there. I don't see any particular pattern. I would assume, let's just take a look at the, let me just take a look. I do have that 345, so we're nearing that gap. 345.25. I probably wouldn't trade anything before the 345.25. So you have a couple points away. It's possible many things could happen over here. The volume's dropped off again. It's lunchtime, so it's nothing to look. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA monthly. I love NVIDIA. Great company. Let's take a look. We have such high moves on these stocks ever since AI took off. I mean, look at that. If I were to draw a trend, it's so far off of its trend that I need to find a better trend here. Let's do some support resistance. There's one. And there's two. There is three. And there's an area of support right here. And there's an area of resistance around here. Slash support. And obviously here at the top, take something and do it from here. And look at that trend line. And this candle, or this monthly bar that you had over here trading to 86.86, that was again when we had that. If you take a look at the spine that I pointed out earlier, on the monthly you can see it, on the daily you can see it, but you had right over here, it's the same candle that you're seeing on NVIDIA. Again, that was when China came out with their AI, and obviously that was a beautiful trade that came right over it. You have right now it trading in let's take a look at a weekly. Nothing there yet that's speaking to me. It's difficult when you're trading like near all-time highs, because everything had such a significant run that identifying on the high side, it's a little risky because you're expecting some sort of a pullback. For healthy markets, you have to have pullbacks. But right now, we're just trading in an area, but there is another area here that I would like to plot out a little bit. Keep an eye on it. About 167, and then obviously where it found resistance at all-time highs, about 184.5. Okay, that's NVIDIA. Let's take a look if we see anything again on the right now. I had a very nice open. A similar, I would call it more of a bull flag. It's trading in a tight range. Right now, we'd like to see it break out, follow through. Let's see if I go to a 2 hour, 30 minutes. You can see it better in a 30-minute chart there. See, we have a nice flag. Just imagine a flag pole, and then you got that pennant that's associated with this. So that's something to keep an eye on, except you have really right above you about that 172 level. Let's see if I even marked it out. No, I have the 167. I do have that. You can see that 174, 172 level. Yeah, right here. I'd like to see it trade above this 172 level, and then possibly we could even test new highs. Okay, I think we covered a lot today. We did Palantir. We showed a bull flag. We showed a double bottom that we had on Friday. We discussed Apple, although there was nothing significant to discuss other than if we can see it stay above this 237 at the close. If we don't close below that support area, that's possible we could test new highs. We have the SPY nearing its all-time high on the daily. We've pulled off since Friday a little bit. We had that sell-off on Friday as well. If we take a look at today's 5-minute, you could just see it's ranging, between 647 and 649. And then we had Tesla, which, right now on the day, it's on a downtrend, as you can see, but nothing really to write home about. And then, of course, NVIDIA, which, let's take a look at weekly. Let's take a look at today. We're in a bull pennant here, so I want to keep an eye on that, see if we get any follow through in the afternoon for a breakout. But, be skeptical of that 172, 174 area that you have above it. Guys, welcome again to the Daily Wick. If you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're seeing, and if you have questions, feel free to write. I'll try to comment and possibly even post about it. If you do like what you're hearing, please don't forget to subscribe and like and share with others. I will be back to you tomorrow with a new video, hopefully discussing more patterns. And have an amazing, amazing week, an amazing day. Hope you guys are making a lot of money. And thank you for following me on the Daily Wick. Don't forget, like and subscribe.